Good evening, everyone. Hey, Tony. Hey, Lily. Hope everybody's had a good day. I have been just sitting here, hanging out with the dog who is sleeping like normal. That's what he does best. I know he's coming out of his shell a lot lately because I finally got him to play the other day. I haven't been able to get him to play, but my husband does all the time. So I finally got him to play the other day. I was grabbing his back feet and he was nibbling my fingers. But it was funny. I was like, hey, wait a minute, he's starting to play. So I kept going. Still fighting that headache, huh? Yeah. So yet another early morning with the dog. He had to supposedly go out at 1:30 this morning. Yeah. He decided to hightail it back up the steps and right to his water dish. He didn't need out. He needed to drink of water. He wouldn't go out in the living room by himself. Crazy dog. And the other day, I told my husband, do not give him too many of those TREATS's. So what's he do? Oh well, give him a whole bunch. Yeah, we got woken up in the middle of the night. He got sick on the bed. Lovely. So I had to take the sheet off, take the blankets, put them all in the laundry. Throw a sheet back on the bed, throw a big blanket on there, and call it good, and go back to sleep. At least I haven't stepped in it. Anyway, the joys of having a pet. You get sick, you gotta take care of it, just like a kid. But anyways, I'm Sandra, and I'm an alcoholic, and this is an AA meeting. Great way to start it, right? So please be mindful in the chat and the comments to not be judging each other. Don't go harassing somebody else's page. This is a safe space for people to talk about their addiction to alcohol or their addiction to whatever it is. So just be mindful of that. And just because they're in the chat doesn't mean that they are the alcoholic or the addict. They could be just support of my channel, and so they might be here just doing that and learning how to help family members or friends that they may think is suffering from alcoholism. So you never know when the family member might need a tip and trick on how to reach that person that is still in their addiction and alcoholism. Yep, that's what we do. Anyways, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I always put in the description what book we're reading and the page and the story we're reading, so that should be in there. This time I was able to get it up on the Facebook side also, so yay me. Finally got it. Anyways, one, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continue to take personal inventory, and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So we're in the Big Book, Jim's story on page 238. Sorry. I'm in the 4th edition, so if you have a different edition, it will probably be on a different page. And if you have the newest edition, which I believe should be out right now, it has all kinds of different things in it than this one. So I'm going to start off at, I had a long talk with the psychiatrist, but nothing came of that. And I had also, just about that time, talked with a minister for whom I had a great deal of respect. He went into the religious side and told me that I didn't attend church as regularly as I should, and that he felt more or less that this was responsible for my trouble. I rebelled against this because just about the time that I was getting ready to leave high school, a revelation came to me about God, and it made things very complicated for me. The thought came to me that if God, as my mother said, was a vengeful God, He couldn't be a loving God. I wasn't able to comprehend it. I rebelled, and from that time on, I don't think I attended church more than a dozen times. After this incident in 1940, I sought some other means of livelihood. I had a very good friend who was in the government service, and I went to him about a job. He got me one. I worked for the government about a year and still maintained my evening office practice. When the government agencies were desensitized, whatever that word is, then I went south because they told me that the particular county I was going to in North Carolina was a dry country. Or county, sorry. I thought that this would be a good help to me. I would meet some new faces and be in a dry country. It doesn't have an R, so it's county. There, I got it right. I said it wrong. But I found that after I got to North Carolina, it wasn't any different. The state was different, but I wasn't. Nevertheless, I stayed sober there about 6 months because I knew that Vi was to come later and bring the children. We had 2 girls and a boy at that time. Something happened. Vi had secured work in Washington. She was also in the government service. I started inquiring where I could get a drink, and of course, I found that it wasn't hard. I think whiskey was cheaper there than it was in Washington. Matters got worse all the time until finally they got so bad that I was reinvestigated by the government. Being an alcoholic, slick, and having some good sense left, I survived the investigation. Then I had my first bad stomach hemorrhage. I was out of work for about 4 days. I got into a lot of financial difficulties too. I borrowed $500 from the bank, and I borrowed $500 from and 300 from the loan shop, and I drank that up pretty fast. Then I decided that I'd go back to Washington. My wife received me graciously. Although she was living in a one-room with kitchen affair, she'd been reduced to that. I promised that I was going to do the right thing. We were now both working in the same agency. I continued to drink. I got drunk one night in October, went to sleep in the rain, and woke up with pneumonia. We continued to work together, and I continued to drink. But I guess deep down within our hearts, we both knew I couldn't stop drinking. But I thought I didn't want to stop. We had several fights, and on one or two occasions, I struck her with my fist. She decided that she didn't want any more of that. So she went to court and talked it over with the judge. They cooked up a plan whereby she didn't have to be molested by me if she didn't want to be. In other words, beaten. I went back to my mother's for a few days until things cooled off because the district attorney had put out a summons for me to come to see him in his office. A policeman came to the door and asked for James S., but there wasn't any James S. there. He came back several times. Within 10 days, I got locked up for being drunk. And this same policeman was in the station house as I was being booked. I had to put up a $300 bond because he was carrying the same summons around in his pocket for me. So I went down to talk to the district attorney, and the arrangement was made that I would go home to stay with my mother, and that meant that Vi and I were separated. I continued to work and continued to go to lunch with Vi, and none of our acquaintances on the job knew that we had separated. Very often we rode to and from work together, but being separated really galled me deep down. The November following, I took a few days off after payday to celebrate my birthday on the 25th of the month. As usual, I got drunk and lost some money. Someone had taken it from me. That was the usual pattern. I sometimes gave it to my mother, and then I'd go back and hound her for it. I was just about broke. I guess I have $5 or $10 in my pocket. Anyhow, on the 24th, after drinking all day, on the 23rd, I must have decided I wanted to see my wife and I have some kind of reconciliation or at least talk with her. I don't remember whether I went by streetcar, whether I walked or went in a taxi cab. The one thing I can remember now was that Vi was on the corner of 8th and L, and I remember vividly that she had an envelope in her hand. I remember talking to her, but what happened after that, I don't know. What actually happened was that I had taken a penknife and stabbed Vi 3 times with it. Then I left and went home to bed. Around 8 or 9 o'clock, there came 2 more detectives and a policeman to arrest me for assault, and I was the most amazed person in the world when they said I had assaulted someone, and especially that I had assaulted my wife. I was taken to the station house and locked up. The next morning, I went up for arraignment. Vi was very kind and explained to the jury that I was basically a fine fellow and a good husband, but that I drank too much and that she thought I'd lost my mind and should be committed to an asylum. The judge said that if she felt that way, he would confine me for 30 days, examination and observation. There was no observation. There might have been some investigation. The closest I came to a psychiatrist during that time was an intern who came to take blood tests. After the trial, I got big hearted again and felt that I should do something in payment for Vi's kindness to me. So I left Washington and went to Seattle to work. I was there about 3 weeks, and then I got restless and started to tramp across the country here and there until I finally wound up in Pennsylvania in a steel mill. I worked in the steel mill for possibly 2 months, and then I became disgusted with myself and decided to go back home. I think the thing that galled me was that just after Easter, I had drawn my salary for 2 weeks' work and had decided that I was going to send some money to Vi. And above all else, I was going to send my baby daughter an Easter outfit. But there happened to be a liquor store between the post office and the mill. I stopped to get that one drink, of course. The kid never got the Easter outfit. I got very little out of the 200 that I drew on that payday. I knew I wasn't capable of keeping the bulk of money myself, so I gave it to a white fellow who owed the bar I frequented. He kept the money for me, but I worried him to death for it. Finally, I broke the last $100 bill the Saturday before I left. I got out of that bill one pair of shoes, and the rest of the money was blown. I took the last of it to buy my railroad ticket. I'd been home about a week or 10 days when one of my friends asked if I could repair one of his electrical outlets. Thinking only of $2 or $3, met Ella G, who, sorry, to buy some whiskey. I did the job, and that's how I met Ella G, who was responsible for my coming into AA. I went to this friend's shop to repair his electrical outlet, and I noticed this lady. She continued to watch me, although she didn't say anything. Finally, she said, "Isn't your name Jim S., sir?" I said, "Yes." Then she told me who she was. She was Ella G. When I had known her years before, she was rather slender, but at this time she weighed as much as she does now, which is up around the 200s or very close to it. I had not recognized her, but as soon as she said who she was, I remembered her right away. She didn't say anything about AA or getting me a sponsor at that time, but she did ask about Vi, and I told her Vi was working and how she could locate her. It was around noon a day or two later when the telephone rang. It was Ella. She asked me if I would let someone come up and talk to me concerning a business deal. She never mentioned another word or anything about my whiskey drinking because if she had, I would have told her no right then. I asked her just what this deal was, but she wouldn't say. She said, "He has something of interest if you will see him." I told her that I would. She asked me one other thing. She asked me if I would try to be sober if I possibly could. So I put forth some effort that day to try to stay sober if I could, though my sobriety was just a daze. About 7 that evening, my sponsor walked in, Charlie G. He didn't seem too much at ease in the beginning. I guess I felt and he sensed it, but I wanted him to hurry up and say what he had to say and get out. Anyhow, he started talking about himself. He started telling me how much trouble he had, and I said to myself, I wonder why this guy is telling me all his troubles. I have troubles of my own. Finally, he brought in the angel of whiskey. He continued to talk, and I to listen. After he talked half an hour, I still wanted him to hurry up and get out so I could go and get some whiskey before the liquor store closed. But as he continued to talk, I realized that this was the first time I had met a person who had the same problems I did, and who I sincerely believe understood me as an individual. I knew my wife didn't because I had been sincere in all my promises to her, as well as to my mother and to my close friends. But the urge to take that drink was more powerful than anything else. After Charlie had talked a while, I knew that this man had something. In that short period, he built within me something that I had long since lost, which was hope. When he left, I walked with him to the streetcar line, which was just about a half a block. But there were 2 liquor stores, one on each corner from my home. I put Charlie on the car, and when I left him, I passed both of those liquor stores without even thinking about them. The following Sunday, we met at Ella G's. It was Charlie and 3 or 4 others. That was the first meeting of a colored group in AA. So far as I know, we hold some 2 or 3 meetings at Ella's home, and from there we held some 2 or 3 at her mother's home. Then Charlie or someone in the group suggested that we try to get a place in a church or hall to hold meetings. I approached several ministers, and all of them thought it was a very good idea, but they never relinquished any space. So finally, I went to the YMCA, and they graciously permitted us to use a room at $2 a night. At that time, we had our meetings on Friday nights. Of course, it wasn't very much of a meeting in the beginning. Most of the time, it was just Vi and myself. But finally, we got 1 or 2 more in and stick. And from there, of course, we started to grow. I haven't mentioned it, but Charlie, my sponsor, was white. And when we got our group started, we got help from other white groups in Washington. They came, many of them, and stuck by us and told us how to hold meetings. They taught us a great deal about 12-step work, too. Indeed, without their aid, we couldn't possibly have gone on. They saved us endless time and lost motion. And not only that, but they gave us financial help. Even when we were paying that $2 a night, they often paid it for us because our collection was so small. At this time, I wasn't working. Vi was taking care of me, and I was devoting all my time to the building of that group. I worked at that alone for 6 months. I just gathered up this and that alcoholic because in the back of my mind, I wanted to save all the world. I had found this new something, and I wanted to give it to everyone who had a problem. We didn't save the world, but we did manage to help some individuals. That's my story of what AA has done for me. AA has done that for me as well. I went to an already established group, but I didn't know anybody there. So I thought, other than one of my friends who got me to start AA to begin with, and I thank him every day for that. But if you think about it, when AA started, there was 2 people that had the same problem. but they didn't know how to get out. And they figured it out. It wasn't always easy for them to figure it out because they had to go through so many different things to stay sober and keep reminding themselves of what had helped them to make it through such different issues in their journey. And Jim is a black man, and they didn't know back then about AA or anything. They, and for the surprising part of his story, but again, it was back then, is they were surprised that white people helped them. That's the thing about AA. We don't judge people. That's not our place to do. Because if we're going to judge somebody, then they have the right to judge us. And we don't like being judged, so why do we need to judge other people? And it's tolerance and acceptance. And my sponsor was forever telling me tolerance and acceptance, you have to. Because if you don't, it's not going to make any sense to you. And being able to understand these things now that I've been sober so long and part of AA for 11 years, that I know what the things are and what I should do when I do stupid, Yeah, I get in arguments. Yes, I have to make amends. Yes, I do it right away, pretty much. Before, when I first started AA, hell no, I didn't do that. There was no way you were going to catch me saying sorry. No. I was not going to do that. I had no part in that argument. No, thank you. But in the end, I did have to go and make my amends because, I had a big part in that argument. I just didn't like admitting it at that time. Go figure, That's the ego. But with Jim and becoming physical, that happens quite often as well. My birth father was very hands-on to my mother and to me and my sister. Our birth father would beat us, all three of us, and we were 2 when they got a divorce. So beating a 2-year-old with a hanger, that's not okay. But he had always been an alcoholic. I don't know about his family, his father. His mother refused alcoholism. She had no wants to have any part of somebody drinking or any of that. If you were going to buy alcohol, absolutely not. She was not going to help you out at that. Not at all. So I'm going to guess that it was probably my grandfather, who my father did not know, because he passed before my father was 3, I think. And so, knowing what I know now about alcoholism and having the program that helps people to quit drinking and to stay sober, and knowing that they can't force us to do the steps, they can't force us to accept what they want us to learn. That's all up to us, and some of us don't want to, and some of us refuse it. And some will come to meetings to get their DUI slip filled out, and then they'll go right back out where they just come from. And that's sad because there is that help, and it is long-lasting help if you are willing to just do these few steps and use it in your day-to-day life, and it's that easy. I mean, we don't say you have to do it all right this second. I mean, you can go slow, go slug slow if that's what you want. But for anything to work, you have to be willing to change it. And me, I had to change everything. And when I quit drinking, I left my friends. I had to leave everything and do it on my own. And I quit drinking. And then I came back and I dealt with everything else. And I still make amends to this day, to the past, to family members, to friends, and new ones that I have to make when I get in those arguments with people. I just automatically do it because I don't want that on my shoulders, because then I feel like the ass, and I definitely don't like feeling like the ass. And so I just automatically make that amend and be done with it. They can accept it or leave it, I made my part and I'm done. And that's what we have to do. And so that's what he needed to do with his wife and his family, and make his amends with them, and get something to occupy himself on other than getting the drink, because that's what drives us to be the alcoholic, is getting it. The getting it and hiding it is the whole charade of why we get that thrill. Because number one, we're going to sneak it and drink it. Number two, we got to make sure that they don't know that we're drinking it. And then half the time you hide it and you don't know where the heck you put it. So then you got to worry about that too. You're always thinking, I know I put it somewhere, and now I got to figure out where the heck I put it. And pray to God that nobody else found it. Yeah, I remember. Do I miss it? Not at all. Not at all. I do not miss having that. No. Because I was not nice. I was an ass. I didn't care who I hurt or what I said or what I did or who I offended or who I pissed off or what I said to so-and-so to piss off so-and-so. I didn't care. All I cared about was getting that drink. And that's an alcoholic. And the same goes for an addict. It's the same exact thing. And you're upping yourself with both, if you're doing one of them, you're upping yourself with that one. If you're doing the other one, you're upping yourself with that one. If you're doing it, both of them, you're doing it even faster. So, I mean, there are programs that help. And that's why we have AA and NA and rehabs and inpatient care to help you get sober and help you go through those withdrawals and all of those crazy things. And let me tell you, I've gone through withdrawals from the alcohol, from the caffeine, to the cigarettes. Yeah, still have not smoked a cigarette, coming up on 2 years. That's super exciting. In March will be 2 years ago. Yep. But um and here he had a stomach hemorrhage, and that is part of alcohol. It causes liver and kidney and all kinds of health issues. And my oldest brought me home some papers when he was in high school from health class, I think it was. And it was about alcoholism. I didn't care. He handed it to me, and I did not worry about that. He knew I was an alcoholic. I was not even fazed by that. But I did not even take the 10 minutes to sit there and read it. Or lay there and read it. Whichever I was doing. And he was trying to tell me that I was offing myself very slowly. And they were watching it. They don't have to watch that no more. But my son is going to be 30 in a few days. And I can't believe I've been a mom for 30 years. He is a responsible young man. He has a family. Yes, it's a made family. So what? I'm still a grandma. One of them is mine. But I claim them both. But they have made me a grandma, and those kids will never see me drunk. Never. Because I don't just have my own reasons for myself to stay sober. I have my family as reasons. I have my friends as reasons. I have the life I have now as a huge reason. I've been back to work for 5 months, and the first job I had, I worked 2 years. And then the second job I had, I worked for a year and a half. So, granted, the first one was hosting, but I loved that job. If I could do it again, I would. But I cannot do that by myself. I do. I miss it. The being outside all the time thing. Being in the woods. Being in nature 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yeah. And the whole time I was hosting, we have all these people drinking all around us, and not once did I ask for a drink. Not once. And then I got to go to Reno, and we stayed in the Silver Legacy. I walking through that casino every day for 4 days, and not a single drink. I was pretty proud of myself at that point. I was walking through there, seeing all these drinks sitting around half drank, and I was like, I could drink that, but I'm not going to. I could have bought one, but I didn't. I could have bought more than one, but I didn't. I played the casino on $20 for all 4 days. The same $20. I kept winning extra, so I just played what I won. And I kept that adding a $20 bill here and there to what I keep in my pocket. But put my husband on the machine, he don't cash out. He'll go all the way to 1 penny and then cash out. But it's a, we don't spend a lot of money at the casino, so we don't even really go to a casino anymore. I think we've been to 5 in 30 years, so maybe 6. Warm Springs. I'm not going to count all of them inside Reno because they're all connected. And I didn't even know I was going from one to the other. Get up in our room and I was looking over at the clown. I was like, hey, I want to go over there. That's the clown. I want to go to Circus Circus. And my husband's like, you've been in there. I'm like, no, we haven't. I haven't gone through those doors. And he's like, you see that breezeway over there? It's like, yeah. He goes, yeah, you've been in there. Like, dang it. But, yeah, and like I tell everybody that asks, how did you get sober and stay sober? I did it for the right reason. For me. I got sober for me. Nobody else asked me to. Nobody told me to. I didn't even have doctors tell me to. I just decided that I was done. I didn't want to do it anymore. I was drinking by myself, looking stupid in the middle of nowhere. Nobody is watching me. Wild animals around, and here I am traipsing around in the fucking dark, chugging on that whiskey. But, I mean, I do not miss having that alcohol at all. I sleep. My world does not spin unless if I'm not feeling good. Somebody wants to say hi. He hasn't said hi yet. Say hi, Ryder. Say hi. He's like, where are they, Mom? Where are they, Mom? You gotta lick my eyeball. They're on the computer. Can you say hi? Hi. I also got tired of not being able to do anything or go anywhere because I was embarrassing. And I couldn't drive myself anywhere. And you need your nails clipped, man. Yeah, you need them clipped. And if I pull off the clippers, he's gonna run. He's gonna run, huh? Tomorrow he's getting a bath. Before we go in the car. Yeah. Because you is a little stinky dog. Yes. Down. Go down. Oh. You got sober because you were tired of being sick all the time. Yeah. That is another thing I don't miss. I don't miss not wanting to get up out of bed and just wanting to lay there because my world was spinning. Constant spinning. I couldn't get off the merry-go-round. And that's something I wanted more than anything, was for my world to stop spinning. And now the only time I'm dizzy is when I don't feel good. And I don't even take medicine with alcohol in it. I don't even take Dayquil or NyQuil. I take Robitussin or Tussin. minus alcohol. Yeah, I'll get it. A spoiled dog. He's Mr. Spoiled Rider here. He's in stealth mode. He thinks when he goes stiff, you can't see him. I can still see you, dude. When you try to move him off of you, he does this. Leans in like, you ain't gonna move me. I'm giving away your secrets. Yeah, I am. And they're probably laughing. And he's like, I am not listening to you. What are you gonna do about it, huh? What are you gonna do about it? Huh? I love you. Crazy little dog. Anyways, let's go ahead and say this Serenity prayer so Mama can go lay down big time. Hey, hit all sevens today. What do you mean? How many sevens? I just saw that, Tony. It's okay. We're all in some country. Oh man. I hope we're all in some country. We're supposed to be county. Saying country. There's no R in that word. Man. Oh my goodness. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and say the Serenity prayer. Thank you guys for coming, and remember, you're not alone. If you're struggling with addiction or alcoholism, please know there is help everywhere. Google AA or NA or call your local church. Most churches know where there's an AA meeting. And just know you're not the only ones that have this issue. There are many of us. So, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you guys. Be safe.